Okay, look, the Henkeries project has got a resource of about 5 million pounds of uranium. The resource drilling contract is currently being tendered at the moment. We'll appoint the contractor to complete that in September, and we expect all that drilling work, an initial 6,000 metres of drilling, to be completed in the final quarter of this year, along with the resource update. So we're expecting quite a material increase in resource. We do have samples that will come back with assay results, samples that have already been taken from previous drilling, and that will also add to the resource. So we're quite excited about how that resource number is going to stack up as we get towards the end of this year. No, look, we're not going to be producing at Henkeries until 2025. So what we're going to be doing in the balance of this year is doing that drill out. We'll also be expanding our infrastructure facilities on site, places to store the core, basically just giving ourselves more of a footprint there at Henkeries. So the capital necessary for that drilling program, we've already got the cash in the bank for that, so there's no need for us to bring in or raise any additional capital for that program. Yes, we have actually, and funny you should ask that. I've been on a call 45 minutes ago to a group in Europe, not just on Henkeries but also on the Brewer projects as well. That's obviously caught a lot of attention in the market, and given its location in the heart there of South Africa's uranium producing region, yes, there's been a lot of interest that's come in, and people have approached us and asked us exactly what we're looking for and how they can help. Look, I think the Brewer formal documentation to complete that's going to happen in the next 4 weeks. We then have the regulatory approvals, it's called Section 11, for the transfer of the prospecting right there from Sunshine Mineral Reserves to our newly established subsidiary. So that's going to take several months to get done. In the meantime, our key focus is going to be on Brewer North. The reason for that is that the resources there are the shallowest in that whole area of the whole Brewer Reef. That's the most shallowest. But I think by the time we complete our next acquisition, that whole landscape, that whole picture of what we're going to be doing becomes a lot more clearer, and our plans as to how to bring that into production will be very evident for shareholders and investors alike. Harmony Gold, South Africa's one of the world's largest gold producers. They've got substantial facilities for the processing of it as well as their mining operations. They're the only one really with advanced producing assets. I spoke with them some time ago actually whilst we were listing NEO. There's other companies in South Africa that are holding prospecting licenses, holding projects which are looking probably for a company like us with a bit more energy, dynamism to come in and bring them into a more consolidated vehicle and allow us to develop them as part of the bigger group. So yes, we're talking to a lot of people. In that region, you've got Harmony Gold. They're big enough and ugly enough to do their own thing, but yeah, we're going to be that big neighbour to them, I hope, in the coming months and years, and certainly get a lot of attention from them as to what we're doing. We've looked at that Welkom area, that area in the Free State, where there is, as I think I've mentioned before in some interviews or announcements, there's over 70 years of continuous uranium production. There's not too many places in the world that can say that. There's not too many places in the world where uranium ore is transported from mines to processing facilities, where there is the regulatory environment which actually allows the development of mines such as this. So our next acquisition is well advanced. We actually got started on it before the Brewer North, Brewer South acquisition. We're progressing that transaction. I can't really say too much about it. It brings with it a way of unlocking Brewer North, Brewer South, purely through infrastructure and an ability to develop a uranium mining operation a lot quicker than you could as a standalone project at Brewer North. Look, we've worked with very, very good partners since we got started with NEO. So from a timing point of view, I'm very confident about where things are at there. We haven't moved as quickly as I would like, but everybody knows that I try and move as quickly as possible, and probably too fast. I've got too fast expectations, I'm not sure. But from from a funding point of view, from a working capital point of view moving forward, yes, AUO is well advanced with its big $1 billion fund, and that will clearly assist us in unlocking value, with a lot of that directed towards some of the big capital items. But look, to be frank, we've been approached by numerous parties that are excited not just by our uranium, but particularly by the gold. And let's be clear, NEO is a uranium-focused company. So that gold, which comes as a byproduct, we're not mining it separately, it's mined at the same time. That gold is a very attractive asset upon which we can leverage our funding to give us the ability to move forward quickly. So yes, Quinton's fund, AUO, Quinton himself is an amazing guy, great partner, great business partner. So I really look forward to him getting that done. But impacting us as we progress this project? No, not at all. Yeah, look, I think when Sean was interviewed, when was this, a couple of weeks ago, straight after the acquisition was announced, he talked in detail, not just about the technical aspects of the project, but some of the funding aspects, and using that gold byproduct to basically bring in an upfront prepayment on that gold. That's how it's going to be structured. So we're not gearing up the uranium, we're not hedging the uranium, we want to have as maximum exposure to that uranium price as we possibly can, because the outlook is just incredible for the uranium sector. So we will be using that gold under a secured prepayment structure, a streaming structure, a royalty style structure, which is commonplace. Sibanye have just announced one in South Africa. They're one of the neighbouring gold producers to us there at Beza North, Beza South. So using that, getting a prepayment against that, with well-established financing groups, that's how we'll go, that's how we'll get the funding. That'll be used for acquisition costs, for working capital costs, for updating study work, and for initial development work too. We haven't released that publicly, so it's probably inappropriate for me to give you an exact dollars and cents kind of numbers. We're well funded through this process, well funded through the Henkrys process, so we will go into the new year well placed from our funding. We have drawn down, we have access to the majority of that funding that we had from AUO at the outset. People remember that was a series of tranches that we're able to draw down to fund our activities. There is a significant amount of that available to us, and we'll be using that to fund ourselves as we push ahead, as I said, Henkrys drilling, resource update work, but also the work associated at Beza North, Beza South, as we complete that and as we push ahead with the study work there too. Gee, it's too early to start thinking that at the moment. We haven't even been going for a year here. And bear in mind, it took me 2 years to get NEO listed in the first place. So look, we've got a very ambitious growth strategy for NEO. We're confident that we're on the right path. You know, Henkrys in itself is a great standalone asset. It's going to be one of the lowest cost uranium producers. I am certain of that. Sand hosted, with all that infrastructure around it blows a number of its peers out of the water. It really does. Just across the border there in Namibia, you've got companies that have to spend hundreds of millions on power, on water, on road. We've got that there. We've actually got a substation on the license. You've got the main road, which runs from Namibia all the way through to Cape Town. You've got the power lines running beside it. You've got the Orange River. So Henkrys will be a major project which will deliver for us. And in parallel to that, we've got all these activities here around Beza. So we're not looking at an exit plan, far from it. We're looking, as I've made very clear, myself and Quinton are looking at turning NEO into Southern Africa's biggest uranium company, from both the production, the processing, and the trading perspective too. As to how that will relate, are we going to outgrow South Africa? No, we're not. There's tremendous resources there. I think it's in the top 10 of uranium resources in the world. So our exit plan, look, let's just build this company. You know, we're less than 1 year young. Still a long, long way to go. Look, resourcing these project developments is critical for us. And you will be seeing, as we finalise the transactions on Beza North, Beza South, and the additional project acquisitions, that clearly our management team, our board will need to grow with the company. So you will be seeing us expand that management team quite considerably in the coming months. That to me is critical in delivering these projects into development. It's having the right management team, the right aligned board in place to allow us to push ahead. So Resourcing is critical. I think as we're in South Africa, we're probably better placed than any other projects elsewhere in Africa. South Africa's got such a rich history. It's got a first world mining infrastructure. The consultants, the contractors, are as good, if not better, than what you would find in North America, in Australia, in all the other main mining centers of the world. Resourcing is the key risk, but I think its impact here will be minimal because we know we can secure some incredibly well-qualified people to work there. And bear in mind, this mine, Brewer, and even Henquys in the Northern Cape, two of the most established mining areas in South Africa. So you've got a strong local workforce and a strong local workforce that's aligned to mine development. So you've got communities that have historically seen some great benefits from these mining operations. So I'm very confident that we'll be able to push ahead and actually develop these with the support of the communities and with a very strong, very, very strong management team around us as well. Look, A2X, we listed there, and it was great for NIA to have that dual listing in South Africa. The fact that we have it there allows South Africans to invest in us. There's no question about that. Otherwise, they would have had to invest it offshore through the UK, and that would require South African Reserve Bank approvals. So it's addressed a number of things very, very quickly. Just last week, we had a meeting with A2X, with Straight, with Anchor, and with their advisors, Acacia. There's what's called a CSD link being set up between South Africa and the UK. That will allow stock bought in the UK to settle in South Africa within 20 minutes, which is incredible. It's better than most other places around the world. That will allow people to start trading more aggressively with the right market makers behind it. There's a lot of people interested in trading in South Africa. We now need to unlock that. It's disappointing we haven't unlocked it yet, but I think certainly with this acquisition at Brewer and our next couple of acquisitions, there's a lot of people already wanting to invest. This will really unlock that. So that CSD link coming through over the course of September and into early October, I think will have a transformational impact on the volumes that we start to see traded in South Africa. Yeah, the JSE is one that makes sense for us, but I want to give A2X a bit more of a go, to be honest. I think we haven't really seen the benefits of it, and the benefits will come from that CSD link. So let's see how we progress over the final quarter of this year once that's in place, and then I believe we'll be able to look at it with all its merits and work out whether we do move to the JSE or not. The A2X is seriously picking up a significant amount of volume in South Africa as a percentage of the total volume traded. So, I think it's an important platform to be on. Let's see, like I say, as we go through this quarter and see how those trading volumes change once that CSD link is up for NIA. Look, South Africa is, it's a first world mining infrastructure. It's a place where the rule of law applies, where you can actually develop a mining operation. Under the Black Economic Empower legislation, there is a requirement for us to have local partners, and clearly we're looking at that from our position there in Welkom, in the Witwatersrand Basin, and around Brewer to see the sort of partners that we want alongside us there. So politically, we will be very much, well supported. There's very few juniors actually in South Africa's mining sector pushing as hard as us. So, and in a sector which can have such important merits from a GDP point of view, from a positioning in the global markets for uranium. So I think, yes, we've got great support there, and that support's only going to increase as we move ahead this year and next. Look, as I said, South Africa has been producing uranium for over 70 years. Okay, this isn't some new jurisdiction in East or West Africa which doesn't have that history. So South Africa's regulatory environment is as good, if not better from a mining perspective, than many of the other mining centres around the world. Like I say, Australia, North America, even some of the European mining centres. So the occupational health and safety standards, the standards that apply specifically to uranium, to mining, to processing, to transportation, is very well established. Again, this is a jurisdiction that's been producing uranium consistently for 70 years. So they have all the regulatory bodies there. We, through our involvement at Henquys, have been working with those regulators to make sure we have the correct policies, procedures, operating criteria to manage not just the exploration phase but the development phase. So, for instance, we've just earlier this year permitting in place for the storage of samples from the Hencrease drilling, from samples which are already there, ensuring that they're contained in a safe environment and meets all the requirements. So we've been through those processes already. We've got experienced people within the group that have worked within those regulatory environments. So we're well placed to both operate within that as an exploration and a development company, but also as a producer. Look, I think when you look at that container stuff, you're looking at some of the bulk commodities as opposed to a commodity such as uranium, yellowcake, where you're not shipping in anything like the containers, which we've been looking at in one of my other companies, basically shipping a bulk commodity. Here, you're producing, processing an intermediary product that is well processed and is much smaller in volumes and requires much more stringent transportation aspects. So with that regards, there is the capacity to produce this, to process this, and to export this. So by the time we're producing not just at Hencrease, but in and around that Besa complex, then I'm very comfortable in the logistics arrangements that will be in place. Look, I've already said that one of the key risks for this company as we move forward is resourcing. And we've got a great team in place already. And that great team in place is not just on the ground in South Africa, it's within the corporate office here in Nairobi, it's within the offices in London, and it encompasses all aspects of the business, the operational, the finance, the administration, the media, the PR, so on and so forth. So there's key people within our organization that are going to grow with us, but there's clearly, as we expand our business, as we grow our business, we will be bringing in new faces, new blood, if you want to call it that. Some old heads. There's a lot of experience sitting there in South Africa that have been involved in the uranium mining sector for many, many decades. And it would be foolish of me to think that we could operate it with our existing management team. I've said we will grow, and our key thing to focus on, not just technically, operationally, but it's management risk. And we will be growing that management team very, very soon. Uranium, look, this morning, I don't know if people have looked at it this morning, with what's just happened in Kazakhstan and the downgrade in terms of production there. There's been a bullish market in uranium for years, and you've seen it play out with the pricing. So it's a fantastic time to be involved in the sector. From a demand to meet all the new nuclear reactors, nuclear being one of the preferred energy sources going forward under this green transition with green economies. Uranium is one of the key sectors to be in. That's why we set up NEO a number of years ago. We saw the opportunity, not just in the commodity, but in the region. So I'm very bullish. Obviously, I'm very bullish on uranium and where we're going to go. So the economics for us are very robust, not just at Hencrease, but what we've got planned from the underground operations that we'll be looking to commence in 2025. So yes, uranium is a key commodity and one with some of the strongest fundamentals out there. Yeah, for those investors that have been with us over the past several months, I think the performance in the share price and the liquidity in the share price over the past 2 weeks has been amazing. For those that have supported us over these months, thank you. But I think, as First Equity pointed out, there's tremendous value in this company, and we've got to deliver that now. And I think we'll deliver that not just from Hencrease, from Besa North, from Besa South, and from the next series of acquisitions that will progress and close over the coming weeks and months. So thanks for your support, and I look forward to getting more news out there as quickly as I can.